Welcome to the HHS Broadcast Sports Show, and I'm Glenn Vance.
I'm Schuyler Harmison.
I'm Dylan Burnett.
And I'm James Vance.
LeBron James leads Michael Jordan in career points last night on less shots taken. This sparks a conversation on who the greatest of all time is. James, who thinks is the GOAT?
I think they're both really good, but LeBron he's a more efficient scorer and a better passer. But Jordan averages more points per game, and he's also, I think, a better defender.
Yeah, Jordan did score more points per game. Jordan had 30. LeBron only had 27. But, if we look at the way that LeBron can, distribute the ball and rebound, Jordan only really had LeBron in points per game, and basketball is more than just points per game. LeBron's more efficient. He has more assists and rebounds. So I think LeBron's a well-rounded player. That's why I think he's the greatest of all time.
Also, LeBron could play in the league for a couple more years. His career's not over yet, so.
Yes.
He's definitely more of a team player than Jordan because he can, because he distributes the ball well.
Yeah, you can't argue with the fact that Jordan has 6 rings and he hasn't lost at finals. But some of that is due to the fact that Jordan had a better team, but still, that's pretty impressive.
Bryce Harper has just been fined for recruiting superstar baseball player Mike Trout. Dylan, thoughts on those two being on the Phillies?
That would be a great team. Bryce Harper's already good enough. It's going to be a great season. But if we had Mike Trout, too, he's a heck of a hitter. He bats over 300 usually. He's a great defender. He's a great center fielder. Only got good things to say about those two. That'd be a stacked team.
I think it makes more sense now with the 13-year contract we're talking about. With 13 years, he's only getting paid $25 million, which means they're going to have more cap space per year to pay for Mike Trout. Because Mike Trout will go into free agency in 2 years. And then after they sign Mike Trout, because they'll have more cap room with Harper only having a $25 million per year contract, then they'll be able to sign Mike Trout, and that's really going to push that team to the top class of MLB teams.
Yeah, I think having those two on the team will definitely help with the development of their young core that they already have with Rhys Hoskins, Cesar Hernandez, and Michael Franco. Having those two on the team as role models and being superstar players would definitely help those three getting a lot better in their career.
James?
Yeah, the Phillies would be a pretty good team with Mike Trout and Bryce Harper.
Recently, the Celtics have destroyed the Warriors by more than 30 points. The Warriors looked horrible on defense by play and struggled on offense. Schuyler, should we be worried about the Warriors?
Obviously they have the most talented team, but look at the stat line. What is this team gonna be when guys like Durant are struggling? He shot 5 for 16, 0 for 5 from 3. Cousins was 4 for 12, 0 for 5 from 3. This is gonna happen. Plus, if they have one guy injured, that's gonna be an issue. Also, Boogie Cousins last night, DeMarcus Cousins, was a defensive liability in the pick-and-roll game. They were causing lots of switches, and DeMarcus Cousins can't guard anyone outside of the center position. And when they didn't switch, the Warriors' defense just got burned. That's just a really bad sign.
Yeah, I think the Warriors, if they have all 5 of their starters, I think they'll probably make go to the finals. But also, I think the Warriors bench needs to step it up a little bit because they didn't really shoot very well from the field, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with his team, since they didn't shoot well, that they need to figure out how to have a good night when they're not shooting well from 3.
Dylan, anything else to add?
You guys basically summed it all up.
All right. It's never too early to look ahead on the upcoming NFL season. Who do you guys think is shaping up for a good season next year?
Glenn?
Well, I think the Seahawks definitely have a really good-looking team because, last year was supposed to be a rebuilding year or a transition year, whatever you want to call it, the Seahawks. But they the young players really stepped it up, and then with the re-signing of Frank Clark, I think they're just going to only get better.
I think the Bears also have a good chance because of their outstanding defense, and with Mitchell Trubisky as the quarterback, I think they'll do pretty well. But they also need to add some more, like a running back or wide receiver.
Dylan?
I think the Eagles are going to do well, even though they lost Nick Foles, but they still got a stacked team.
Yeah, I mean, Wentz is a good quarterback. But don't sleep on the Jaguars. Speaking of Nick Foles.
They got Nick Foles.
Yeah, the Jaguars just signed Nick Foles. I mean, last year their biggest issue was the bad quarterback. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is still a good player, but, I mean, he's a great player, but he had an offseason next year. That defense is too good, and with the addition of Nick Foles, who's been very consistent, that team's going to be really good, just like they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, they've got a really young defense, so their defense is only going to get better. So their offense just needs to step up.
Yep.
HHS Baseball is in full swing. Who are some interesting players on the JV and varsity roster?
I think Toby is a pretty interesting player. Toby Corson. He's on the JV team. He's in 8th grade, and he's a pretty small kid, but I mean he's a great pitcher who can generate a lot of power, and I think he's a really good defensive player as well.
I think an interesting player on the varsity team is Josh Lichty because he's a rookie and he's also a senior, but he looks like he's been playing throughout his whole high school career. It looks like he's been playing like his whole life, and he can really swing the bat, and he has an arm, so I'm excited to see how he does this year.
I think an interesting player on the JV roster is Jaden Burgess because he can pitch pretty well, and he's got a pretty nasty curveball, and he can hit pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going back to the JV team, I think Aiden Perkins is an interesting player because he's in 10th grade.
Keep going.
Yeah, because Aiden, he's in 10th grade, so he's going to be a leader on the team. So, yeah, he's going to be.
All right, that's about all we have. And remember, stay classy, HHS.